Hey, this is Zach over at NV Woodworks. A couple days ago I got a question about this cove making jig for the table saw that I posted on a walnut picture frame project post that I did on Lumberjocks. And so I just wanted to do a little video to kind of show how I use it and set it up. Mark Spagnolo, I think I got the design from Mark actually, but he's got a really good video too. It's probably a lot more in depth. So if you go to thewoodwhisperer.com, I don't know, search for Cove Jig on his site. He's got a really good video for that. But I just wanted to kind of show how I did it. On my saw, first thing is you got to take out the splitter, riving knife. So basically what you want to do is you want to align the jig straddling the table saw blade. And when you take your workpiece, this jig should fit, it should fit between the rails so it doesn't move. So you want to, maybe even clamp this and tighten these things down. So it won't move. And then you got a little channel this thing will ride in. Now, I'm going to get a shot of what you're looking at, what it's doing, because you're going to be running it sideways across the table saw blade. Let me drop the camera down and get a shot of this. Basically what you can do is you can sight down this channel and see, what effect the position of this rail is. And you can do mathematical calculations. I think Mark had that set up where I think you find the center of the blade, and depending on what angle you put this at, it'll be a perfectly round cove or a kind of an offset cove. Frankly, I don't really waste my time messing with that. I just sight down, see what just kind of judge it by what the blade is going to be doing and what, where it starts and stops on this piece. And then I just do test cuts, and it really usually only takes, I don't know, at the most like maybe 5 test cuts to get this thing lined up and get the profile that you want. Once you've sighted down and you like the profile that it looks like it's going to put into the wood, you want to clamp it down. Depending on what kind of table saw you have and how easy it is to get this stuff clamped, I use these big Bessies and get it under the table, and I'm trying to clamp it to the tabletop. I don't want to put a clamp over the rail necessarily. One little trick you could do, there's a gap on the front rail compared to the tabletop, so you could put a kind of a little spacer, and you could get enough, get it even with the tabletop, and then you could clamp fairly easily out, further out. Same with the back. You got the back rail, it goes down significantly. It's like 2 1/4 inches below the tabletop, so get a little piece of wood that can fit underneath here so that you can get a clamp on. You can get a clamp on, and you don't have to open the table or anything like that. Now, like I said, this is a cabinet saw, so I don't know, some of the open stand saws may be even easier to clamp, but without making a spacer right now, I'm just going to kind of show how I get this thing set up. Surface. But I do that for all 4 points, just to make sure it's not going to move on me. Now, again, this one's a little bit kind of tricky. So with all these things, you got to just kind of do your best to get all the clamps on. Now, I drop the saw blade down way far. You don't want to be taking, much more than like a 1/16 at a time. But the other thing is when you're getting this all clamped up, it's not a bad idea to take another clamp this thing, in position so that this thing can't really, because this isn't very good right here. It can move around. You want to get these legs parallel with your workpiece. Um, and then all you really do, I would recommend grabbing some kind of a, this may not be the best hand paddle thing, but I would definitely not stick your hand on here. Grab it with one of these and you just turn the saw on and just run them over all the way through. And then you just increase the height of the saw blade about a little bit, 16, and you just keep nibbling it away until you get the profile depth that you want. Now it works great. This jig I've had for years, and I don't use it that often. I don't make a lot of picture frames, but it's simple. It's just junk plywood, and frankly, it's actually a joy to use. It works perfect every time. I've gotten good results every single time I've used it. So I definitely recommend it. It's a pretty good design. There are definitely things that you could do to make it better. For instance, just the clamping issue. If you got one of them mag switch things, kind of like one of these things where you turn it on and off. You just planted, if they were strong enough, I don't know how I recommend this, but if you can get some really strong magnets, that's much easier than messing around with all these clamps. That's one thing. But a couple of the things that you definitely want to do, depending on what you're cutting, the bridge areas, these where it goes up, the whole point of that is so that you can get your workpiece, to run from the beginning and all the way through to the end. If you just clamp it straight down and your workpiece is taller than these pieces, it ain't gonna work too well. So 3.5 wide by I got mine about 57 inches, 5 feet. That's the other thing. If you're making really big picture frames, you're going to need, enough length to keep everything held tightly. 5 feet, I think, probably will do just about anything, especially for picture frames and stuff. Now, the other dimension, depending on what kind of stock you're using, this is probably overkill, being this wide. I just have about a 16-inch. These are 16 inches by inch and 3/4. That may be too much, depending on what kind of stuff you're doing. But I kind of wanted to make one jig and not have to redo it. The beauty of this design is it can skinny up to any size, but you can also get it really wide if you want to be cutting certain types of coves and stuff. Now if you really wanted to, you could run panels over this and get kind of crazy about where you set it, and you could probably get a really wide cove in a panel if you really wanted to go through that hassle. But for this, like I said, picture frames, and all this is just 3/4 inch stock, and these little blocks just are the same width, a couple inches. There was nothing scientific about this. Now, all I did was countersink. Let's see here. Countersink the holes. I got washers in there, bolts. So you just need to get bolts that'll go all the way through. I got 3 pieces of 3/4 inch. It's about 2.5 inch, 2 3/4 inch long bolts. And then I just got these little knobs from Rockler or somewhere online. The other thing is, I know Rockler's got one that they sell, commercially available, already done for you, probably made out of MDF, and it's all pretty looking. It has some pretty cool features, I think, that I don't know that I would pay for necessarily. It's so easy to make one of these in about 20 minutes that what do you need to pay Rockler for and wait for shipping? But you can check out their design, and see if there's anything about that thing, any of the features that you can incorporate into your own that might make it a little bit cooler. So if you have any questions about this jig, I don't know, comments about it, you can send me an email at Zac, Z-A-C, at NV, like the state abbreviation for Nevada, NVWoodworks, WOODWERKS.com. It'll probably be on the bottom of the screen when I edit this video. Also, if you make your own Cove jig for the table saw, I'd like to see pictures of it. Send me a link to a picture, because I've had this for a while, and I'm not afraid to make a new one that has a couple extra little features. Definitely, the magnetic locking, clamping thing is something that would. The hardest part for me is clamping this thing down, and if you can just unlock some things, that'll save a ton of time and it'll speed up how quick you can set up and adjust this thing. So I'd like to hear from you. Thanks a lot.